everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to be here tonight. We are here with The Missing Link. And tonight, you guys know what The Missing Link is about. I bring on past castmates, pretty much anybody, especially if they're an entrepreneur. We discuss their business, what they're working on, how they started with their business, where they're going with it, pretty much the cliff notes to everything about their business with that specific individual. And tonight I have the amazing ARIES here. You guys probably recognize her from Ready to Love DC, which was just aired on the Oprah Winfrey Network just literally the last couple weeks ago. So if you have not seen that season, make sure you definitely watch it. ARIES was one of the fan favorites. But anyway, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking this time out of your busy schedule to meet with me and to talk with me.
Girl, thank you for having me. I was so excited. I was like, this is one of the ones I really felt like this was going to be more comfortable because of just like being able to talk about all my passions and things that I work on. It's fun to get an opportunity to share that kind of stuff. So I'm excited. And you're awesome. I told you my mom loves you. She's like, she's one of my favorites. So she's like obsessed with the show. So yeah, her favorites as well. So
well, tell mom I said hi and I love her too. Sometimes I still get like giddy and I still get like, you know what I mean? It's still so surreal for me, even though it's been like 2 years. Like, I can't believe people even still come to me nowadays like, oh my God, Sabrina, can I take a picture? And I'm like, me?
The weirdest thing, I feel like, sorry, I have a cough drop, y'all, because I have allergies and nothing like anyway, but it's so weird. Like, I go places and people are stopping me and I'm like, you know, like, how do you know? They'll be like, ARIES. And I'm like, do I know you? Because I forget sometimes about, oh, you know me because of Ready to Love. I'm thinking it's like somebody that knows me and I just forgot their name or something, you know? They're like, I know you. They walk right on you. So I'm like, oh, this is so weird, but it's awesome. I'm glad that people are just super nice in our RTL universe.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you don't really, I know for me, I didn't really think about it at first until like, you know, after the show. I wasn't thinking like past the show, like people would really come up to me and want to take pictures with me and stuff. And I'm like, is this really happening? And my daughter's like, Mom, you're famous. You're famous. I'm like, no, I'm definitely not famous, but you know, she's like, if you are, I'm like, okay, whatever. If you say so. So, but anyway, I'm excited to kind of like just jump into it. But before we start, shout out to you guys in the chat. I see you here. If you have not liked the video, make sure you like the video. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. Make sure you click that subscribe, click that black notification bell. So every time I go live or post a new video, you will be the first to know. Shout out to my soulmates too. I see you in the chat as well. All right, let's just go ahead and get right into it. This is probably, the first question is probably the hardest question for you out of this whole interview. And that is, who is ARIES?
Oh gosh, yes. Who is ARIES? Woo, ARIES. She is a very layered, complex individual. Friendly, kind-hearted, bold, future thinking, soul searching, personal development enthusiast. I'm one of those people who always is like looking at myself and figuring out like what I need to work on, which is good and bad, but you know, because sometimes you're just like trying to find stuff. But I've always been like that. Like since I was a young girl, I used to be like in the self-help section of Barnes and Nobles and, you know, in the stores and just always reading books and introspective, you know. So I think I have a personality that attracts a lot of different type of people. And I've learned now in my older age to just like embrace that and protect that. So I think, you know, I just try to think, you know, a little bit more and stuff like that. It's a complex question, but yeah, that's a gist of, you know, and I am an ARIES. My birthday is April 14th.
That was going to be one of my. You've answered like 3 of my questions already. Let's just keep it with the flow.
Yes, that's the number one question I get in my life is always when I introduce myself. They're like, "Are you an Aries?" And I'm like, "Yes." I'm like, yes. "I'm typical Aries woman. Whatever y'all read about it, I'm like the mature version of the description. Like I have so many of the same, like real qualities of like whatever they say Aries woman is like." So,
yeah. So when your mom named you Aries, like, did she tell you the story? Like, you popped out and she was like, "I already know her name gonna be Aries." And was she like, "What am I name her?" And she couldn't figure out a name, and you was born in that month, and she was like, "I'm just gonna name her that." Like, how was it?
Very close, but my dad's mom is actually who named me Aries. So they thought I was gonna be a boy the whole time. So my dad was a professional baseball player in the 70s. And he was actually in Panama playing baseball. He used to play for the Dodgers and he played for the A's as well. But so when I was like, my birth story was like, everybody was just like there and waiting around. And he had bought his players, his teammates had bought like baseballs and gloves and stuff, like for me. They're ready.
Thought you were going to be a boy.
And he was ready for his junior. His name was Marvin. Oh, God. And, then when my aunt called him and was like, "She had the baby and it's a girl," and he was like, "No, for real." "No, for real." And she was like, "Yeah, it's a girl." So it was just like, okay, I'm excited. But like, as a guy, like man's man, he thought he was going to get this boy, And so they didn't have a name. They were going to name me Marvin Jr. That was going to be my name. So my dad's mom was there with my mom, and I have an older sister. Her name is Venus.
Oh, wow.
Well, they're hippies. So I was born in Berkeley, California. So they were in the hippie time. And so yeah, she was like, "Can I name her?" And she named me Aries. Thank God, because there was some other names that was not gonna be good. But yeah. So yeah, so my son, my youngest son, the one with the tie up there. His name is Marvin.
Oh, wow.
So
they got the Marvin anyway.
Yeah, he ended up getting his name because I knew I wasn't having no more kids after him. I was like, so let me go on and let you have your name. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a sweet story. Okay. See, little fun fact. Okay, cool. All right, so you described your personality. So because I know what we saw on the screen and what you portrayed, and of course everyone loves you. So can you say that growing up your personality was like the same?
I was very shy. Okay. And I'm way more outgoing than I was when I was a child. Like I was very shy and but I made friends easy. Like I was just a curious child. I wanted to I had everybody, I had so many different types of friends. And I think it kind of scared my parents and stuff sometimes because I just had a diverse group of friends. Like I don't care, different religions, just everything, And so, because I just was so curious about people. I just, so I had really good interpersonal relationships. And I actually studied that in high school. They give you a choice of interpersonal communication or public speaking. And I always was like, we're not doing public speaking because I was more of a, in my shell a little bit. So not public speaking. But I just started studying physiology and how to relate to people and things like that. And that kind of communication, more relationship-based communication. And I feel like that really helped build my quality of relationships that I was building over the years because they were more one-on-one. And so, I always it was weird because I felt like I was shy, but people were considering me their friend. And I'd be like, yeah, but I still was kind of protective of who my friends were. I had my one best friend.
Yeah.
Through this kind of time, or whatever. But I had a lot of associates.
Yeah.
So but then when I got to high school, that's when I actually started coming out of my shell more. Because the funny story is when I was a little girl in elementary, and this is before Friday came out, but I used to tell them to call me Felicia because nobody was named Aries. Like that wasn't like, so I had friends like Tamika, Aisha, like everybody had Aisha.
Yeah.
And I'm like Aries. That's boring. So I called myself Felicia. And I would tell people to call me Felicia
Wow.
until I got to high school, and then I would then I wanted to be different.
Exactly.
Right. So then I'm like, yeah, my name is Aries. It's not like
Yeah.
somebody else's name, you know. So at that point I started
Exactly.
being a lot more outgoing and stuff like that.
Right.
Bye, Felicia. Exactly.
Right. Exactly. So, all right. So you're in Dallas now. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Richmond, California, which is in the Bay Area. I
Okay.
was born in Berkeley. It's like 10 minutes away from Berkeley, basically, but
Hmm.
very small population, but it was like the hood. So like if you're in Oakland and you're like, I'm from Richmond, they'd be like, that lets you know how hood Richmond is. So people think Oakland is like, oh my God, Richmond is another level from Oakland. So because it's more concentrated. So like,
Uh-huh.
let's say there's 400,000 in Oakland, there's 100,000 in Richmond. So everybody knows each other. But my
Mhm.
family was there, like we were very close, and it was a big family. Everybody knew my family. Like I grew up kind of in a family where the name preceded itself, so I
Mhm.
didn't really have to worry about a lot, even
Mhm.
though it was kind of like a rough environment. Like
Yeah.
they knew, like, oh, that's her, you know, her uncle, her daddy, her, you know, people knew
Right.
the
Don't
family.
mess with Aries.
Yeah, so it was like I kind of was like in this bubble, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always said I was in like a semi-permeable bubble because I feel like
Mhm.
I was in my environment, but I never really felt like I belonged in my environment. So like
Mhm.
I got the experience of being in that space, but I
Mhm.
wasn't like, I didn't take on the characteristics of my environment. So people always would be like, "You're from Richmond? Like
Mhm.
you don't look like you from Richmond." I'm like, "What does that look like?" Like I never understood it, but I just didn't. Like my sister, she's still kind of in that life, you
Yeah.
know. But I
Yeah.
always was like, I'm not gonna live here. I don't want to be a part of this. Like when I
Mhm.
grow up, like it was a lot of rough times,
Mm.
um,
Mhm.
and just a lot of drama. Was a lot of activity. Was a lot of like just chaos all the time.
Mhm.
Which is
Mhm.
why now I feel like my life is very peaceful because I'm
Mhm.
able to create my own now. Right, as an
Mhm.
adult, it was big for me to say like I want to. I don't have to. I had to do that because you're with your parents. You got to do whatever your parents say, and
Right.
you live the life that your parents live. You know. And so, but
Right.
when I became an adult, I was like, I'm choosing how I want to live my life and what I want.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I always knew I was like, nah, I'm trying to be Claire Huxtable when I grow up.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, child. Honey,
Yeah.
that just reminds me of Sean on my season. He's like, "Yeah, I want to Claire Huxtable." I'm like, what? But I get it. I get it. So
Yeah.
how did you end up in Dallas?
So I used to work for AT&T,
Okay.
and I came here with them. So I was actually helping them start up a tier 2 tech support call center. I used to
Mhm.
be a tech support rep for a lot of years with AT&T, and then I like kept moving up, you know, and leading
Mhm.
teams and stuff. And then I came here to help them start a brand new call center. But I only stayed for about a year. Like as soon as I came here, I went back to school. So I went to college in California, Cal State Hayward, now East Bay. We changed the name that year after I graduated. And then when I came here, I started graduate school. So I have an MBA in
Mhm.
business administration. And
Mhm.
while I was here doing that, I got hired for another company called Cisco Systems,
Mhm.
another tech company. And it was really before its time as far as like technology. So like I was working from home in like '06, like '06, '07.
Mhm.
I was working from home back then. That was actually a part of one of the projects that I was working on was like teleworking and
Mhm.
having employees be able to like work the same. Like if you're in your office, the same phone that's ringing will ring at your house. If you have it at your house, like we could still video
Mhm.
conference calls and stuff like that. So it was really like an innovative role, and I was excited about it. So that's how I ended up here. I was actually following my director at the time. I was coming out of my first marriage, and I was like, I'm starting over. We're gonna do something new, you know. And I really, me and my director at the time were really cool. And so he was leaving. I'm like, where you going? Like, nah, I'm coming, you know.
Right. We're with
So
you.
that's how I ended up here. And then I left the company like a year later and just went to Cisco after that.
Right. Yeah, I'm familiar with Cisco as well. So, with you doing those jobs, so as a little Aries, what did Aries want to be growing up?
Funny you should ask that. So I am a goal setting person. Okay. So even from a young age. So when I was about 10, my mom brought a computer home. She was
Mm-hmm.
a secretary. Her company was going through bankruptcy. They said you could take anything out of here. And she took the computer. I was like, smart lady. But didn't know what to do. It's just like, figure out this thing, this is like 92, 93. Like I'm like 10 or something at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in there just
Yep.
playing and messing around and figuring stuff out. And I started really figuring things out. And that's like right when the internet, this is really
I was
funny.
about to say, honey, because I went to school for information system and decision sciences, and I used to work on computers, and literally we had floppy disk.
Yes,
And
the
we
floppy disk.
had
That was like our class was one of the first classes that got computers in the school, right? So we had the floppy, like my 5th grade class. So I was like, oh, I know how to use a computer, because we doing
right.
San Diego.
Look, you felt established. You felt smart. You was
Yeah, playing
intelligent.
family and everything. So I wasn't afraid. I think that's the biggest thing with kids and getting them into STEM early is they're not afraid to mess up something.
Yep.
Right? Older people are like, I don't want to click the wrong button and blow the computer up. So as a kid, it's easier because they're just like they're already figuring the internet out. So I did that, and I got to the point where I could take things apart and put them back together. So I was anything that was electronic, I would like the VCR, the calculator with the receipts on it. I would just take stuff apart so I could see how it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why? How is it making it do this? But then I was able to like fix things because I knew how it worked. So the VCR would mess up, I'll be like, let me go in there. I knew how to fix the thing and make it work. So I wrote myself a letter when I was about 17, which I still have. I was supposed to open it 10 years later. I didn't find it, but one day I went in my garage here in Texas, going through some boxes and stuff, and I found it. It was 20 years later at this point. But I had wrote myself a letter saying, I'm 17 years old. This is like in 1996 or something. And I was like saying that I'm going to work in computers and I'm going to make a lot of money. I don't know what kind of computer job I'm going to get yet, but I know I'm going to make money. Like I'm going to make a lot of money or whatever. So I always knew I wanted to do something in tech, right? It wasn't called that back then. It was computers, right?
Yeah.
And so that is what I always just knew that I was going to do something in that space. Now, if I had the right mentorship, I would have probably been an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know what an engineer was, or I didn't know anyone who was an engineer at that time. There wasn't many Black people, that was like
In that field, yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I used to just catch the bus and go to Cal, Berkeley, and it would be all Asian men in these programs, and I would sign myself up for programs to go on the weekend. I would get on the BART train, and my parents had no clue what any of the stuff I was doing was. We just, back in those days, we could just get on the bus and be gone. Like our parents didn't know nothing, no cell phones, nothing. We'd be gone.
Yeah.
And so I just knew I wanted to do something in that realm, but I didn't know exactly what it was going to look like.
Yeah. So speaking of that, so my next question actually is what did you end up becoming? But we're speaking on it because you kind of end up becoming exactly what you just stated. And you're a tech leader, a software portfolio advisor, and a software consultant. Pretty much, that's what you do. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So
now I was gonna just
talk to me.
say like it's evolved. I feel like we got a delay, but it evolved over time. So like I just got a new role in July, but I was doing like technology sales, which was a new area of tech that I had never worked in before, but I had done consulting over the years. But sales was just something that I was like, I'm gonna try sales because people were like, you have the personality, like you need to like try this. Like that feels like it would be, and it really was, kind of my cup of tea. But it's funny because now the role I have now is more like working with our top clients and helping improve kind of our customer care, which is basically what I always did, even back at AT&T, like those days. So it's like bringing back all that, like, if you notice when you go places nowadays, customer service ain't what it used to be.
Nope.
So that's also in this space too, right? With salespeople, they know how to sell, but they don't always know how to like actually build a relationship with a customer. So I lean on everything I've always known, like the relationship building skills, the networking, the, just understanding how to treat people the way you would want them to be treated, the way you would want to be treated. And I'm bringing that kind of full circle into the role that I have now. So I don't have to be like super technical. I just need to know enough to be dangerous. Even though I do have like, that tech nature about myself. I didn't go to school for tech. My degree was political science and then I had a business minor. And then I went to graduate school and got an MBA, obviously in business administration. But the plan was always, I was going to go to law school. I thought, and then I was like, nah, we're going to stay over here.
Why did you decide not to go to law school?
I think because I was always still working when I was in school. Like I worked full time and went to school the whole time. So it was like I was still working in tech, And as I was just like growing in my career, I started seeing like opportunities that I knew I wanted to move into like leadership. And I was like, well, it's not really like I can make good money either way. Like the goal is to make some money, So I was like, I can make money still doing what I already know. Like I don't need to go learn something brand new. And then my best friend is a lawyer, so like, I also got to benefit from her already doing that. And I was like, nah, this is not, let me just stick to what I know that I'm good at. And I'm glad I did that too.
Yeah. So you're also a DEI advocate. Are you still currently?
Always, because as a Black woman in this space, it is imperative to represent, because I went through a lot as a young, smart Black girl in a tech space. It was torturous for the majority of my career. Like you have to be so confident, and they will chop down at that confidence all the time in corporate America. It is not for the weak at all. And even if you're not weak, it's a lot, to go through. And I started taking it personal at one point because I really thought that I was the problem. I'm like, well, it's me. That's why I'm going through these experiences at work. But really, it was like, as a Black woman, I'm not an advocate for the strong Black woman thing, but we are. It's nothing you can, it's kind of like you just are. But our type of style in corporate doesn't mix with the way that they consider professionalism and how the office politics is supposed to work. So when we come into space, we're like, yeah, like I know what I'm doing. I got this. Like, why are we not like, let's get it together? We're ready to just, be efficient and take care of business. And they're like, no, that's not. You got to be like, you need to be like this.
Honey, they don't even want us to wear our hair a certain kind of way.
Back in those days, oh my God, like it was really, really bad. So it's like you got to have the flat iron, or put it back in the bun, or whatever. So I went through all those phases, and it was a point in my career where I really was like beat up by the whole thing, and I just kind of shrunk a little bit, where I was like, well, I'm just not gonna say nothing in none of these meetings. I'm just gonna be quiet and do my job, because I really thought that how I was being treated was like, okay, I'm too vocal. I'm too, like I talk too much. Maybe I need to just, back up. And that wasn't it. It was just what it was. And so I learned, it wasn't until probably 2018 when I went through a really, really bad work experience. And I've had multiple, but this was like the one that really beat me down. It affected me more, I think, because I'm just like, damn, I have done all this stuff.
Yeah.
I have all this experience. I know what the heck I'm doing. I'm doing an excellent job. I'm doing it over here. And because this person is intimidated by me coming in, like, you were not doing a good job. I come in and I'm killing it. And now you feel like you need to chop my you got to attack me at work now. Like now you're trying to figure out these manipulative ways to undercut me. It was like just messy and ugly and stuff. And my leadership did not support me. And it really like it messed me up because like when you like, I know I'm like, I am doing the damn thing over here, you know? And I've improved this company. I've done this, you know, this stuff. Like the customer loves me, like multi-billion-dollar customer who's like flying me to Prague and like they're hating hella bad.
Yes. Yeah. I'd be a little jealous too. Sure. Like, can I come?
Trump supporting customer, right? I have a Trump loving client who is like, we want ARIES to be the, and he would say little things and try to get to me, like talking about Trump and stuff like that. And I'll be like, I don't care who you vote for, as long as you sign this paperwork when I need to sign. You know, I don't care. And that one, I was just like, I'm over this. And I took a year off from work. I took a whole year off from work. Like I don't even want to deal with this. So I really started doing my own thing. Yeah. I was already working with a nonprofit organization that was for women in tech. I had started branching out my network a couple years before, and I was volunteering for that organization. So I poured my time into that year instead of thinking about a job. And I mean, I saw my value outside of work. I saw the impact of who I am as a person and my passions in something else that was not related to like a job. And it was like, ARIES, you are worthy of absolutely, you know, all the good things. And it's not about you, it's about this job. But it also started a conversation around Black women in this space. And I started sharing my story more. And a lot of women started coming out of the woodworks. And this is before George Floyd and all the people talking about, you know, diversity, equity, inclusion, and stuff like that. It was before that. And I was bold enough to actually start some conversations in spaces that weren't ready and used to hearing us share what's really going on over here. And they were like, yeah. It was uncomfortable, but the Black women were like, we need to talk about this more. Yep. Like, y'all see me. We're all experiencing this, you know? Yep. So what that did was spark me and my best friend to start a podcast called Bold Black Girls.
But we're not gonna go there just yet.
But we'll get to that.
Yes. Okay. So before we move forward, because I know people are like DEI advocate. Like, what is that? Can you explain to them what that is?
DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion, and now they're at a beyond, which is belonging, and that's really just kind of the corporate way of saying I'm advocating for people that ain't white. That includes not just Black people, but it includes gender, it includes sexual orientation, it includes disabilities, you know, things like that. But for me, obviously, it was my love for that came out of my own personal experiences as a Black woman, which as a Black woman or any woman that's a non, I would say in the underrepresented community, right. You are going to, and in tech, there is a lack of diversity, period. Like I have been and had been the only Black woman on my team the last 3 years in North America as a whole. Wow. Right. So you are usually one of the only ones a lot of times. And so that carries a lot of weight on you or whatever. But, you know, that initiative is something that has been placed in various, you know, now in the corporate space. It's kind of like you expect to have a person that is representing that train of thought to help companies think through when you're hiring, how are we hiring? Are we going to multiple colleges to get interns? How are we our job descriptions, are they leading to make more men apply, make more this type of, you know, it's really shining a light on the process of how you bring people in and how you make them feel included in the organization. Exactly. So that's really what, you know, that is supposed to be about.
And I feel like every corporation or business should have something like that. You know what I mean? It's just like how everyone says we need a therapist on Ready to Love. Same concept in a sense. You know what I mean? But yeah, but they so many places would never, which is so
because you think about it, it's most of these executive boards or companies are all white men.
Facts.
So think about how I talked to one of my CEO. We just got a new CEO, but the one when I first came to this company, I said, so if you are, because my company didn't have a DEI when I came, but because of my voice, we created space for that now, right? And it's still a fight. We don't got it together all the way, but it's a lot more than, more movement than what we had in the past. But
absolutely,
the way I described it was, and how I describe it to white women is, when you go into a boardroom and you see all men, how you feel.
Exactly.
I said, now in your mind, picture yourself black. And whatever that feeling that just came over you, that you'd be like, oh, hell no. It's going to feel way different, right? Yep. But if you're creating a product, that's why it's a lot of this around like artificial intelligence and things like that. When it comes to technology, it's really, really important to get more Black people in this space to represent us, to show the things that we need to consider when we're thinking about technology, right? So, something simple as you going to wash your hands in one of those auto hand washing things. If you haven't considered the fact that my skin is brown and I put my hand under here and that thing doesn't go, because nobody thought we need to make sure the spectrum of skin is represented, and something that simple as a sensor, or facial recognition or things like that. We need people like us in the room to help make those decisions, just like we would for hair care or things like that. So
absolutely. I think Gucci needs to watch this interview. Got great example.
Yes, that was crazy business. But yeah, so I think what happened, over the last 3 years, with all the heightened attention around this, when companies were like Black Lives Matter, and all that, there were some employees that had to be bold to speak out to their company and say, what are we going to do? Are we going to say something about this? Like, we need to address it. This is something that was getting bigger. And then it became kind of like the cool thing to do for a little while. And now companies are kind of going back. It's getting reverted back a little bit more than, because it's not as big of a spotlight on it.
Exactly. They're definitely scaling backwards. But, the thing is it's easy for them to do that because of the position that we play, and we don't always play our position front forward, and we take a step back and we get comfortable, and that's why they're able to do that. But if we continue to put that pressure on them consistently, then they would have no choice, but we get very complacent. You know what I'm saying?
And it's scary. So, it's scary because you are taking a risk. I've been laid off. I've had companies like, you too much. It's too much pressure. And so I started just accepting that as a part of mine, because I'll be like, what I learned about purpose is what makes you angry, everybody doesn't get angry at the same stuff, right? Like, these things don't pull at everyone the same, but when it's like, I gotta say something, I can't just be quiet. That's when you know that that's something that is a part of your plan, right? And so it's like, I would be like, I'm not gonna say nothing. And then it's like, I gotta say something, to where it's like, I will put my job at risk to say something. It's really crazy. I'm like, that's how I know this is a part of what I'm supposed to be doing in my life. Because even coming to the company I'm at now, I had took that year off, and I really was at a place where if I go back into corporate, I'm going in bold as hell. Like, I am going to be like, I got my faux locks in during the interview. I have a podcast called Bold Black Girls. Like, I'm telling them this during like when I'm describing who I am and all that, like, because I'm like, I need them to be like, we want her for who she is. I wasn't scared I'm not gonna straighten my hair to get my foot in the door. This is who the heck I am, and do you want me or not? And if y'all
I'm qualified,
right? And it's all white men on the panel,
right?
And when I tell you, they were like, this is one of the best panel interviews we have had in so long, because I was being my full self. And that was like a bold step to take, because, and even with my company now, we got more Black people in there now, but they're not all still there. And it takes kind of going through some stuff and getting laid off and knowing that it's like, well, whatever, we'll fire me there, but that's my, that's something that's my cross to bear in life. This is a part of my journey. It's not everybody.
And still you rise. So
it's like
facts.
Yeah.
So so now let's move forward. Yes, I have a Bold Black Girls podcast.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I do. You want me to tell you about it? Here it goes. So let's tell the people, like, what is your podcast about?
Yes, so it's really an acronym. So it's building, organizing. We use the L kind of in leading and learning, and then development. So my best friend and I, Kim, she was actually on the podcast, on the episode with my mom. That was my best friend.
Okay.
And we grew our friendship through the love of personal development. Like, we read books together. That's how we became like really close. Like, we're like, what? We love personality assessments. We're just like really geeked out like that. And we go to networking events and stuff together. Like, that's our thing. Mm-hmm. Well, when all this stuff happened and I did these panels with the nonprofit, and women were like, we need this voice. We need more of this. But I knew the nonprofit wasn't the space, because it was more of a general women in tech thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, they ain't ready for this. Like, what we need to be talking about, this is not the platform for it. But we didn't have a platform. So I have another podcast that I started before this, which was like, I call it my practice podcast, when I was just figuring out how to podcast and what to do and all that, called Scratching and Surviving. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Which I'm going to be bringing back too, because I'm going to be talking more about like parenting on that podcast. Mm-hmm. And I had learned how to do it, and I was like, well, if I do another one, I know what to do different, like how I would want to make it better now, right? Mm-hmm. So I already had that experience, and I said, what if we did a podcast? And so we were playing around, texting each other all day, thinking of names for what we would want it to be. Yeah. And I remember when we came up with Bold Black Girls, I'm telling y'all, it's hard to think about pre-COVID almost right now, but like that was a bold move to say our podcast is called Bold Black Girls. That's scary to people. They'd be like, Bold Black Girls. Like, oh, okay. Well, that's, is it okay if I listen, if I'm white, and stuff? And, oh, there she is. She's in there. So, it was something we had to be bold to even have the podcast in the beginning, and the idea around it was, we want to share our journey of learning all these things. Mm-hmm. Personally, professionally, if it's about tech, if it's about whatever, but we're sharing our journey of this. And one pivotal piece was that we were having this dialogue around Black women in the workplace. And this book right here is called The Memo. It's by a lady named Minda Harris. And Minda Harts. And before this book published, we were on Twitter talking about all this stuff, and we ended up connecting, and we had started the podcast. And on our 10th episode, she came to Dallas. She was living in New York at the time. We flew her out, and we had an event. This is our 10th episode. We ain't, really done nothing yet. And we had an event. When I say 100 women showed up, and it was the biggest, like, everybody was just loving it. So we're like, oh, we are on to something.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And so ever since then, we've done over 130 something episodes at this point. We obviously took a break when my dad passed, and when the show kind of just like, so we're going to start back up at the end of the year. But it has been something that, like, literally people have just been coming to us, like, still, like, Kim always sending me these texts. People love to text Kim all the time, be like, girl, I'm listening to this episode. I love it, because it's just two best friends just talking about our experience in a realistic way. So like this week, her and I are going to be in we'll be at Fort Lauderdale this week at the Black Men in Tech Conference. And we're doing a panel with all these C-suite diversity officers at companies. Mm-hmm. One from Cash App, one from LiveRamp, and the other JP Morgan Chase. And these are leaders, Black women that are in the C-suite working on diversity at these big companies. And so we're gonna have a good old time. And so our style is like fun. It's very like light and make you feel like, oh, these women, like this are homegirls, you know, like we're hearing them talk about it like, okay. So we always get people coming up to us on a daily basis, like I want to get in the tech or I want to, you know, do this thing, and they just feel like they can come to us with anything because that's the type of like community that we've built around the podcast. And so just being honest, you know, about how it is and office politics, and be like, yeah, you got to go to the networking events. I know you don't want to be around these people, but you got to go to the networking events, you know. So we talk about all those real life things that you know, it ain't just work harder, it is be smarter, right? Not work harder. So that's really how the podcast kind of came to be and what it's for us, and a platform for us both to get a lot of opportunities to, like, I do a lot of hosting events, moderating panels, and I get paid to speak places because of it, you know, because I have that experience. So that has been like another avenue of income for me as a business, you know. So
yeah, absolutely. I know about that public speaking. So even though I can kind of, so I know I ask a lot of questions that may seem like it's just kind of self-explanatory, but can you let the people know, like, who is your target audience for Bold Black Girls?
So Bold Black Girls, a lot of our audience are from the ages of like, it can go from 25 to 55. You know, there's a big group of women that are in that space. A lot of fresh out of college women. Kim's daughter, she's 2 years out of college, or a year out of college now. So a lot of girls that are coming out of college, they love to reach out to us because they're like, they're cool. They're like our, you know, aunties that'll tell us what's really going on. And we'd be like, girl, let me tell you, when you get up in here, this is how it's going to be now. Don't, you know, get crazy or whatever. So we are just like super real with it. And then there's also women who are like, hey, I want to pivot. I want to do something different. So it's majority women, but also men. So we do different series with men that we have, that we admire, that we feel like killing it, that are good representations of men in the space. And they'll come on to the podcast and share what they have going on, and, you know, educate us on whatever their specialization is as well. And so we build that allyship with other men, which is why we're going to speak for Black Men in Tech. We're doing the main women focused panel at their event, you know, so they usually have us come in and do a lot of that stuff for them.
Right. So on your podcast, what are some of the topic discussions that you guys have? Just like to name a few. I know one of them is #OverIt, honey. And you guys dive into like the women like that are over 40s and how to embrace, you know what I mean, and how to involve, and you got to get rid of the people, them places, them things, girl. You got to, you know what I mean? So just like kind of give like the people some like ideas of like,
yes, we talk about dating, we talk about Black mamas, you know, the relationship with your mom as a Black woman. Sometimes that could be kind of, you know, what does that mean? Do we have to do everything the same way that how we were raised? Gentle parenting, we might talk about that. We might talk about just like co-parenting life. We talk about everything. So it could vary, like I said, from tech to, you know, it's funny because I had Kim laugh and I said, I don't go back. I really don't listen to our podcast like after we put it out.
Yeah.
I usually am the one editing. So I listen when I'm editing, but I don't really go back and listen. So every now and then I'll be like, what were we talking about this time last year? And then she'll go in and be like, girl, we just like your people are watching us evolve too, right? Like how we were feeling about things. Like when COVID happened, we were filming, you know, recording and stuff. And so I was like, we were like, I don't know, this ain't real. It's just like the flu, you know? So like, you know, like I ain't getting that shot, you know, and stuff. Like just listening to our mindsets around things. We talk about setting boundaries, you know, in our life, and interracial dating, you know, we go there. We really have no holds barred on things that we would talk about. It's not going to be the podcast you go to and we're going to be vulgar and, you know, just crazy, but it's going to be more of your homegirl, you know, giving you some advice on something that we learned that we want to share with y'all. We talked about the metaverse, you know, anything that we're curious about, you know, really. So yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, yes, yes, yes. Okay, so what advice would you give to someone that's interested in starting their own podcast?
Ooh. Um, Commit to doing 100 episodes without just thinking that nobody is listening.
That's some great advice.
And that's not easy to do.
Facts.
100 is a lot.
Yes, it is.
But it is a practice. It's not something you're gonna get right away. People, I love that we started out putting everything on YouTube. So if y'all go all the way to episode 1 and look at how raggedy our setup was, how bootleg it was, the audio wasn't even. We didn't have StreamYard back then.
Nope.
We didn't have Zoom. You know, we weren't using Zoom to connect the audio to the video. So it was my cell phone as the video and microphones. And the microphone was only for us to record the actual podcast part of it. It was going straight uploaded. You know, we were editing and stuff. So there's a lot of easy resources now to just like get the tools. You don't need to have all the things. But I will say, some people say you can just record on your phone. If you want to do it right. Like get a quality microphone. You could do it on StreamYard and record it just like this. Now you got all the stuff now, right? So get you a good little mic so that it is quality. No one want to hear stuff that don't sound, you know, especially if it's an audio. You have an audio version. Like some people are only listening to the audio. They're never going to look at you on YouTube. And some people are only looking at you on YouTube. So you want to make sure that both sides are covered. But know what kind of, you need to have enough to talk about. Like some people are just on the internet. You're like, why are you here?
On the internet, honey.
Yeah. I think also if you can pre-record as much as possible, unless it's like a podcast where you're talking about current events and things that are just happening, like, oh, we're gonna talk about Will and Jada this week, you know, or whatever.
Right.
But if it's evergreen type of topics, try to pre-record as many of those, and you can throw those in when you don't have anything else to talk about, or it's a slow week. It's a topic that you can just be like, oh, today we're talking about artificial intelligence. I mean, you can use that anytime, right? So pre-plan as much as you can. Like we have spreadsheets with like how many episodes we're gonna do for a season. What are the topics we think we want to cover? And if something comes in, then we could, you know, something just like, oh, just, you know, this big thing happened, then we can just record something fresh. Right. But for the most part, we know exactly kind of what we want to talk about for the season ahead of time. And then
real organized.
Yeah. That's really Kim. That's her part. I'm more of the technical one. So I'm, you know, so it is good to have a partner too. Like doing it by yourself can be tough. Yes. Don't think you're about to be making a whole bunch of money either, because
that part,
but that's not really what you use it for. I think podcasting is really a marketing tool. If you have other products or other things that you do, like a lot of people do that when they're like, let's say it's a comedian or something, or somebody they're on tour, and you can always just kind of have that like for me, it's something that I feel like my kids will be able to go back and be like, what was my mama talking about? Like it's like having a book almost. Like they can go see my personality, my grandkids. It's a place now that someone can say, oh, this is how her personality was, you know, or whatever.
That's true. That's why I like vlogging so much, because especially like the vlogs when when I did one going to like Miami or Florida for the first time with my daughter. She's never been on an airplane, and we vlogged it. So to go back and like watch that, I'm like, oh, I remember what, you know what I mean? So you're absolutely right. It's definitely sentimental.
It is your mark in time, right? Like I said, going back and being like, what were we saying about, it was like coronavirus, you know, like just all of that kind of stuff. It's really cool, like to actually just see yourself evolve in the way you think about things and, you know, stuff like that. So
yep, exactly. Okay. So I just want to touch a little bit now. Thank you for that information. But I just want to touch a little bit about, Ready to Love. We're not going, get too deep into it. Just because I know you got a whole lot more people to talk to, and I'm pretty sure,
Girl, look, I talked to Koja already, so that's in depth, and I don't know. This might be my last.
Yeah, honey, like it was to the
I'm
point,
so over it. I'm so over
Aries.
it.
It was to the point where after like my fourth or fifth interview, people were asking me to start. I was like, unfortunately, like it's gonna be, because it's time consuming. Like people don't understand, this is like an hour out of your schedule, out of your day, out of your time. So it was to the point where I was like, if I do any more interviews, like y'all are gonna have to pay me. Like, and I would hope that they would say, unfortunately, I'm not trying to pay you, because I'm like, what more can I say after 5 interviews?
I'm like, go back to this one and it'll tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yes.
And with with that interview, like he gets all the exclusive, he gets all the, so it's like, like what if you go somewhere else, it's kind of like, because we're watching his interview with you, so we
know. Exactly. See?
So
you get it.
Yeah, trust me, I get, because I've been in your shoes, you know what I mean? Exactly. Like I'm not like a blogger, you know what I mean? So exactly. It's like, I get it. So, but but now you're here with me, and that's all that matters.
Exactly. And I already, like, you were on it a lot during the season on your takes. That's another reason my mom loves you too. She's like, she gets it, she understands. So yeah, I think you understood kind of, at least from what they showed. There's obviously more to the story behind the scenes, but I think you got the gist of kind of what I was doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So with all that being said, like how, okay, let me ask you this. Like with everything that was going on, like all the drama on social media and the behind the scenes, like how did you feel about, because they tell us, don't be on internet, don't be on social media, don't be posting, don't be going live, don't be doing interviews, don't be, and y'all had a lot more like,
they didn't tell us that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, honey. I remember making a post. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and they were texting me. They were like, take that down. I was like, oh, shit. Like,
they didn't do that to, well, the only time we got like 2 emails during the process, the after of, like, be careful what y'all saying out here in these streets, kind of thing. That's just because there were people going ridiculous. Like they were like, telling everything about production, this and this happened and all that. All those lives were like getting. That's what that was all about. But everybody else, that was just like, we were pretty much. It was like, if the episode has aired, you can talk about it basically.
Right.
At that point, you can share pictures, you can share the things, whatever. So it wasn't like we were super restricted. It was just like, don't obviously violate the NDA.
Right.
But, like spoilers or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like our season was very social media heavy. It was very. Most of the drama was outside of the actual show. So.
Facts.
And it's J-Dub that my mom loves you too. So.
Yeah, so it was very entertaining, and like it was just to the point where like I was trying to keep up. Like it was so much going on, and I was like, I can't believe this is really happening. And I guess because, like I said, since I've been in y'all's position, and because I know what we had to go through and what they, would and would not allow. I just was like, what the heck is going on? Did they sign contracts? Did they not? Like, are they enforcing it? Are people about to get sued? Like, what the heck is going on? Like, it was a lot. I was like,
we did, but I feel like they didn't. I went back and like read the NDA at one point because I was like, what really is up? It wasn't film. I don't think it was ironclad. Like was very vague, honey, and not. I'm like, this. I don't think this really is like.
They were so strict. Like
I feel like they wanted it. They wanted the attention on it a little bit more than they probably normally would because the connections were kind of lacking.
That part. Exactly. And I said I was like, their ratings must be going down because they're allowing you guys to do it. And I think hence after our season, I feel like it just started going down. And I was like, it has to be, that's the reason why. I mean, I wanted to do because I'm a public speaker as well. And, and I have a book and, for, Domestic Violence Month, awareness month, like I got booked to do a public speaking event, and it didn't have anything to do with the show. And I asked them, could I do it? And they told me no. And I was like, but this doesn't have anything to do with Ready to Love. And they were like, yeah, unfortunately, we're holding off on all public speaking events.
What? Oh, hell
Yes.
no.
Like, I was so pissed. And I was like, are y'all serious right now? I was like, this doesn't even have anything to do with the show. How are you going to stop me from doing my business? How are you going to stop me from doing what, like I have a whole life outside of this show. I was like, stop it. Hence why I started the missing link, because it pissed me off. Because you know what I mean?
I would not. Oh, heck no. That would be devastating.
Yeah, I was. But oh my God. So how did you feel? So when they told you like, like, congratulations, like we want you on the show. How did you feel?
I went back and forth. I was like, should I do this? Like, I didn't know. I'm like, because I never thought that I was a fan of the show. So I always used to be like, I'm never going to go on there. I could never go on there. The way these people be doing, like, I couldn't do it. I ain't gonna like none of the guys. I'll be picky, and I had all these things of why I wouldn't, and it was just a lot of people trying to get me on. Like, they were just like, you need to apply. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take a shot. And just like, if I get in, then I'll be like, okay. And so then I finally got the call. I was just like, because it took forever. Because I'm like, I need to know because I got things to do. Like, I got plans I want to make. My birthday is April 14th. So, like, we started filming March 9th.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, how long? Because I wanted to go on that trip like on the 23rd or something. And it was like, it's kind of cutting it close because we ending filming was like the 21st. First they said the 23rd, and I was just like, can I miss that day? So it messed up a trip I wanted to go on. But I was just like, you know what? What the hell? Let's just see what happens. My mom was super excited because she loves the show. So she was like, yes, girl, this gonna be good. This gonna be good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Like I was so naive because I really didn't know and understand the dynamics of the show. Like I really went on there. I was like, I'm about to meet my husband. I was like, I'm about to I was like, yes. Like I talked to my daughter about it. She was like 8 or 9 years old. I was like, mommy's going to go on this show and I might really meet somebody. She was like, oh my God, mom. She was like, I feel it. I feel it. You're going to meet somebody. I mean, we had a whole conversation about it. I was so disappointed when I realized I was on freaking Game of Thrones. I was like, what the hell is this?
I think by the time our season, I've seen enough of the show to understand that you gotta have some type of strategy.
Yeah, you do.
Of how you're gonna, at least for yourself, right? Like you don't understand it until you're in it, like exactly how it's gonna go. So you can't like plan all this, like, but I have a whiteboard right here. Like I'll be like, okay, the names of all the people, like who's on here. And okay, so this person like that person. So okay, like, but my strategy was like, I'm going to just try to stay as neutral as possible with everybody. I'm going to be cool with the guys. And I'm going to not make besties with these women. But be cool enough,
right.
To just like not have nobody trying to like stab me, whatever.
Yeah.
So that was the hardest part, I would say, is the women, is that and understanding that it was such a plethora of personality, that I was proud of myself when the season was over.
We all were proud of you, honey. I almost made it to the end I was like, I just can't take it anymore.
Because it was a lot of stuff going on, and there were different camps, and I'll tell a story about how, like, I remember being like, one day, this is probably like a week and a half after we started, or probably a week, I guess, because we was going to have our first lounge. We had already had our first lounge. And then a couple days after that, like I got added into a group chat, and I was like, "Oh, I got added into a group chat. Like, I wonder what group I'm in. I don't know what group chat, whatever." And I got added into a group chat. I was like, "Okay, so like I've done enough to get added into the group chat, but I also don't want to be like besties with these girls either. Right. So I need to do enough to where they're gonna like say she's cool, you know, but
Right.
also stay a little bit away to where I'm not in the mix of the drama. Like that was a whole dance, you know,
Yes.
where it's like, okay, when I would know information, because I talked to all the guys pretty much. Like I used to talk to all the guys. So I would just give enough tea to the girls and be like, they're having a gentleman's lounge today, girls, you know, or something like that. Or because I didn't really know a lot and I didn't talk to my connections about this is the part that I knew was very important, which is why for me, like I wasn't going back and forth because I'm like, if I go in here and start talking to all my connections about all this stuff, somebody gonna open their mouth and say something.
Absolutely.
You know, and if a guy tell me something, I can't go tell them because it's gonna be messy. That's how mess starts. So I was like, it was so hard to be like know a lot of information and not share it. I was just like, ooh, okay.
Yes.
So, you know, I would just be enough to be like when the first gentleman's lounge, because we didn't know how it was going to work to be like, oh, there's going to be 3 dates and we don't know which date is going to be like they had us to do 3 people go on dates, you know, and one date is the goodbye, the other one is the you need to shape up and get it together, and the other one was just a regular date. So that's how they were throwing us off. So nobody really knew my whole plan was to figure out the strategy of this show. Like, what are they trying to get us to do and stuff? And so I picked up on that kind of quick. And then I was like, they're having a lounge today, you know, or something like that. They're like, ooh, like, you know, okay. But once I started figuring out, like, oh, okay, like if you have a date tonight, it could be one of, you know, it could be anything. So that was mainly what we would talk about in our group. It wasn't like a whole lot of like buddy stuff. It was more just like, oh, who has a date tonight, you know, or what are we supposed to wear to this thing, you know, or something like that. So that's kind of
more informative.
Yeah,
we had the same thing, group chats and everything. It just got to the point where when I realized how fake it was.
Ooh, that's what messed you up right there.
Yeah, and you don't realize it at first because you're going in blind because you don't know the process, you don't know the alliances, you don't know the strategy, you don't know what they're saying over it. You don't know, so you're like, oh, okay, I got added to the group.
And you think everybody's just as naive as you.
Facts.
And it's like, no, they already did plotted and planned this.
Yes.
And then you start being like
Game of Thrones. It was Survivor out that joint.
Yeah. So for me, it was like I started putting pieces together, and I was like, oh snap.
Yep.
Okay, so you were always
Yep.
You know, and it was early because there was at the hoedown there was like this moment. It's like I would go back like one of those movies where at the end you figure out who the villain was, and then you go back and you be like rewind and be like, you was already saying that. I don't remember at this time you said this and that. And like they knew they was gonna be this and that, you know. So that was kind of the part that got me at the end. Like, okay, so this is why, you know.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Absolutely, honey. It is not a game. Like if I would have known now, or oh God, I would have definitely moved a lot differently. I wouldn't have gotten my emotions and feelings so wrapped up into things as I did, and I wouldn't have, you know, like moved like with leading with my emotions, I think, in certain situations, because I genuinely thought like this person was my friend, and I genuinely thought that, you know what I mean? And it just at the end, I just was like really heartbroken because I was like, wow, like you didn't even like me, let alone being my friend, you know what I mean? So it was very hurtful.
Yeah, I feel like I did the opposite of that, where it was important for me not to lead with my emotions. Because I'm a person where I can like somebody quick. This is the Aries part, right? Like we're impulsive and we're just like, I love you, like right now, today. Like I just
right. Like you won't be my boyfriend.
Yeah, I'm like, this is my man. Like I've literally done that before. Like this is my boyfriend. Like we're together today, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And it only lasts for like 48 hours.
Okay.
Like as quickly as I fall, I'll be like, I don't like him anymore. So I was like, okay. The good part was that I couldn't really do that because like I didn't get my first date for like, well, I did get a first date, but it wasn't with like who I really wanted to have my date with, you know? So like when I was my first date with Phil, I think Chris was my first date that I wanted to have. And then I had mine with Phil like a couple days later. But I had other dates before them. So it was like la 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 la, whatever, okay. All right, y'all. And then when I got on my, I'm like, okay, now I can get excited about dates that I actually want to go on. But I also was like, but still, like I always had my eye kind of like, what are they for real? Are they being serious? Like I always was kind of like skeptical, you know, of like, I don't know, you know. So I wasn't letting myself get too excited. Even when I was excited, it was like I'm excited, but still, like I always had that little
right
there.
Yep. Facts. So if they did an all-star season, like would you do it?
More than likely not.
Mm.
I would need to know exactly who's gonna be on.
Yeah.
But it's just the process. I think that's the hardest. Like for me, it was the time that was rough for me.
Yeah. Because it's a lot of filming. People don't understand. Like they just see like this small portion, but you're filming for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And I'm just like,
off to see the editing, and y'all only showed like 3 seconds of me.
Yes. And
are you out of your mind? I was here for 14 hours and you're gonna show.
Let's talk about the dates that we went on that they didn't even show at all, let alone 3 minutes. They didn't even show at all. A whole day of wasting an outfit, makeup, gas, time, energy. What? Didn't even show.
The whole 9. That was the biggest part for me. That was like, y'all just really wasted my life and my outfits. You know?
Facts.
So yeah, that part. Well, some of them I'm glad they didn't show. But still, it was like I took time out of my work, you know, my kids, you know, my life, just all.
It's a lot. So. It's a lot.
So I think about like even the ladies now with the new show and some of the former casts that are on that Make a Move, you know, whatever. I was like, child, I would never, because I ain't moving nowhere.
But you know,
I ain't moving nowhere for these moves.
But hey, guess what? They back on TV. You know what I mean? And they got businesses, and this is great PR, and this is great advertisement, and this is, you know what I mean? And guess what?
That would really be the only way.
But they might really.
If y'all ever see me in there, know that I'm there for my business.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, as it should, because at the end of the day, we're still entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to not. People are like, people just go on there just to promote their business. I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm still looking for love. But yes, I am an entrepreneur and I am going to promote my business. Like, but it doesn't stop the fact that I'm single and I'm still looking for love. Like, people get so upset by that. I think it's so crazy when people get so frustrated. Like, oh my God, they just want to promote their business. Heck yeah, you'd be stupid to not promote your business. You know what I mean? Like,
why would you not?
Yeah, but golly, I hope I meet my husband. You know what I'm saying? So
in the process, you know. And I think that you know, obviously the time that they take to film this stuff, you kind of have to be semi-independent in your work because it takes so much time. A regular 9-to-5 person. There's people who I'm like even like Brandon. I was like, he probably wasn't gonna be able to stay on for long no way because he about to run out of PTO. You know, like you got a job where you gotta like take time off to film. Like
you wouldn't be able to do it.
You're not.
I just did not work
too many days out of the week.
Facts. 2 months, I just did not work. I was like, I'm just not going to work. I can't work because the way my schedule works, like I have to be available when I have to be available. And they email you the night before, like 9 o'clock call time. And you're like, what? Emailing you at 11 o'clock at night, telling you what time. I'm like, I can't work.
I had, and they definitely did that, but like I definitely had an arrangement with one of the producers who was doing scheduling. Where I'm like, you need to, if there's somewhere you need me to be, I need you to, here's my schedule for the week.
That's good.
you need to let me know where you want to block my calendar next week. If I need to know a week in advance. Like I need you to give me as much information as you possibly can about times that you're going to need me to block my calendar.
They
Because
did not do that.
if I have to be with a customer, I'm not coming. I'm letting you know now because that's my money.
That.
So we kind of had our own little agreement of like as much advance notice as possible to give me dates of things. I wouldn't necessarily know what we're gonna do on those dates, but like the lounges, I pretty much knew what dates those were gonna be. And sometimes things would move, but like I had a speaking engagement I had to be at that I already had on the books, and we moved the lounge up earlier that day because I had to be gone by 2:00, or whatever. So we worked it out on some of those things, but it's still. You can't just be working a regular 9 to 5 trying to do this.
Oh yeah, if you have a regular job, you cannot do the show. Period. Point blank. Yeah, if you don't have the freedom to be able to film at least 4 to 5 days a week, at least 3 to 6 hours a day. Period. Because it really doesn't pay that much. It really doesn't. People are like people be fighting to get to the end. Like, do you make extra money? I'm like, the little bit of money you make, not even making it to the end, still ain't worth it. Like it just is not.
And you're spending more money to be on the show than what you're getting, because like you need makeup, clothes, all that, and you're getting paid per episode, not per day you film.
Right.
That's the part that I hate. I'm like, I need payment every time I step foot. When I put a microphone on, I want to check.
Yeah, facts. But
and that's another consideration. If I did do something else, which I don't really, I don't feel like I have the reality personality for the drama, because you need to be a drama person to be really good at reality TV to me. I would need a lot more pay. Like I need a stylist. I'm gonna need lots of food, and all of that. So no.
Yeah. I get it, honey. Yeah, it's a lot. That's, I remember saying it back in one of my interviews, or it was something I was doing. But yeah, if that ever happens, because of the fact that we bought our own outfits, did our own hair, makeup in real life, because you get, you have to file your taxes at the end of the year. All that stuff, make sure you keep your receipts, everything, because you can write all that stuff off. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but I wrote everything off. If I bought food on the way there, I wrote that off. My gas, my mileage, the makeup, the outfits. If I got my nails done, if I had to buy some more bleach for my hair, I wrote all that stuff off. I don't know.
That's smart.
Think about that. Yeah, because you got to file your taxes. The money you make, you got to file taxes on it. So yeah, it's write-offs. You know what I mean?
I'm definitely that's a good tip, because I got to file coming up, so I need to. I'm gonna add on. I got my receipts. I did all my stuff online, and look, I was Fashion Nova and every other store, Nordstrom's, and I was all over the place just ordering. I just was getting packages every day at my house, like different places for different stuff.
Yeah, because it was specific things that we could and we could not wear. So you had to, because
some people started violating that toward the end. I was like, how do you get on TV with that?
Honey, to this day, I will always say, how the hell did Marie go on there with that striped suit on? I will always say that.
Thing that they tell you can't wear.
Can't wear it. Small prints, none of that. I'm just like, because it confuses the camera. So, oh my God.
Yeah, they had it.
So we know that you started dating Phil, because we're about to wrap it, but we know that you started dating Phil afterwards. So the thing is obviously you guys did not work out, right? Is it Phil?
Well, you said afterwards. Wait, what?
Yeah, like after the show ended, like didn't y'all like try to date a little?
No, we did not. We went out afterwards as friends. Like we originally went out because we needed to like really talk through all the things, that actually happened, because it was just stuff that I think was tough to talk about during the process, just as directly as it needed to be talked about, because it was like, I felt there were just certain things I didn't feel like he was wanting to talk about and address on camera specifically. And also I was like, I'm going to give you the real for real, like why I feel the way I do. And like, you need to understand, where I'm coming from with this. And we we broke it all the way down, all the way to the nitty gritty of what could possibly ever be discussed, and we addressed it. And we were kind of like, okay, so that's what that is. We still aren't. It didn't like say, oh, that makes sense. Let's now date. No, it was like, okay, now I get it, and that's what it is. We're still friends. We have really built a connection during the process. So it wasn't like you're just like, ew, gross, get out of my face now. You know, we're still cool. We're friends. We're cordial. We would every now and then, hey, I'm at this cigar bar. You want to pull up? Oh, okay, cool. I'll come pull up.
That's good that y'all are
like it was just cool. You know what I mean? So,
mm-hmm.
And then if the group had an event or something, like we would all be there. You know, like so it was friendly, and we were texting the whole season. And even when we had our date on the show that with the black, you know, like he came by, we watched it together. I was like, oh, we were so cute. Look at us, you know. It was just like super cool to watch it. But I think that as the season went on, in those last like 3 episodes, he because of how social media and editing was like making it seem like, oh, he broke, he ain't got no job, you know, and all this. He started taking that. He started evaluating how I don't know. I was like, how did I get in this? Like, to where you're mad at me because of what is we already went through. Like, we already addressed this, you know. And basically just got mad at me, and then we haven't really talked no more. So.
Well, I hate to do this, but shameless plug. Just to let you know, Phil will be here next Tuesday talking about his jobs and his career and everything. So we're going to ask the question. So he's going to be on the missing link. So hopefully he'll get an opportunity to pretty much, he'll have that platform, you know, explain everything.
As he should. I feel like, you know, editing did a lot of people kind of dirty on some things, you know, and I feel like it's unfortunate because I really did think that like, oh, we're gonna be good. We already lived through this. We almost at the end. You know what happened? You know, we good. No. Because the internet was eating him up. Like, so that really was not good. And it's like, I always knew Phil had a job. I knew he wasn't broke. Like, that wasn't the question for me. It was other things that were, you know, my issue in the process. But yeah, so I'm like, I'm glad that he gets that opportunity to just share his ventures and things that he's into and clear his name, you know, more so about that, you know, that piece of it.
All right. So is it any projects that you're working on that you would like to share?
We'll be back recording Bold Black Girls soon, hopefully next month. If not, it'll be the following month. So we're just kind of recalibrating all of that. We have a lot of speaking stuff right now. So like this is kind of that season where we'll be in Fort Lauderdale this week. We'll be at Afrotech next month in Austin, and then kind of after that, I think is when we'll get back into our space. So just follow me on Instagram, AriesWW, which you know that's kind of where I update things that I have going on. But yeah, I do have some things coming up that I'm not really talking about right now because I'm working on them and I want them to be properly presented, and more than likely that will be next year. The first quarter or second quarter of next year. But yeah, so I'm excited. I just, for me, I came on here really looking for that. When I came on the show, I was like, okay, we're gonna see what they got for me. But I'm still doing all the things I was doing before the show, which is continuing to pour into, Black folks as it pertains into tech in general, not just women and men, because we need more of us in the space. They say that our net worth will be 0 in 2053. So we really need to get our generational wealth building started and really start growing in this area so we don't get left behind. So that's my passion. So things like that. I do a lot of speaking and moderating and hosting events and stuff. So I'll continue to do that and, go from there.
Sounds good. Let them know where they can find you on social media, your websites, anything you want to share.
Yes. So Bold Black Girls on Instagram is our at Bold Black Girls on Instagram. Also my page, my personal page, Aries WW. And you can follow me on LinkedIn. And it's just Aries Webb Williams is my tag on LinkedIn. That is really like my main social media page where I do a lot of my professional announcements and things like that. So yeah.
All right, sounds good. So just to let you guys know that down in the description box below, it's the actual links. So all you have to do is click on them. You can follow Aries on Instagram. That link is down there. Bold Black Girls, their link for the Instagram is down there. The website, Bold Black Girls, is down there. And also the link for her YouTube channel, Bold Black Girls, is down in the description box as well. So just make sure you click, follow, and subscribe. I don't have your LinkedIn, but I'm so glad that you did tell them that. But other than that, I appreciate you so much. This was a very informative interview. You are so amazing. I loved you on the show. I'm going to love you even afterwards. Your aura, your personality, your energy shines so bright on the season. And I am so glad that you did what Aries wanted to do in the end, and that was choose yourself because something just was not right for you and you just didn't follow like the narrative. So I commend you for that. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate
you
it.
for having me, Sabrina. You have been really a bright light yourself, like in this space as a former cast of the show, and growing your own page and being kind of a safe space really for us as a cast of the show to come to, and knowing that you get it, you understand. So I appreciate you allowing me to be on your platform, and I'm looking forward to continuing to just build our friendship as we continue to go forward.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank y'all for the chat too.
All right, guys, don't forget to like the video. If you have not liked the video, make sure you subscribe. If you are new here, make sure you click that black notification bell. And just to let you know that we're going to have Chris tomorrow night on The Missing Link. On Friday, I will be here doing the live reaction watch party for Make a Move. Next Monday, I will be going live with It's J Dub for our hot topics. And on Tuesday, I will be here on The Missing Link with Phil. Other than that, I will see you guys very soon over on my membership channel because I got some surprises for you. Anyway, I talk to you later, guys. Bye. Have a good night.